It was just another busy Thursday afternoon at Chicago's Union Station. Commuters rushing to trains, the smell of coffee in the air, everyone lost in their own world. But when a service dog suddenly broke away from his owner and started desperately scratching at a stranger's suitcase, everything changed. What happened next left an entire terminal speechless and revealed a secret nobody saw coming. But before we reveal what was really inside that suitcase, I need to know, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments below. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, do me a favor and hit that like button right now. Subscribe and turn on notifications because tomorrow's story will be even more incredible than today's. And please share this video, it helps us bring more real stories to light. Now, let me take you back to that unforgettable day. The afternoon sun streamed through the massive glass windows of Chicago's Union Station, casting long shadows across the crowded terminal. The waiting area for the 3:15 train to St. Louis was packed with the usual mix of travelers, business people typing furiously on laptops, college students with oversized backpacks, families wrangling restless children. The air hummed with overlapping conversations, rolling suitcases clattering across polished marble floors, and the distant echo of departure announcements. Sarah Mitchell sat rigid in a plastic chair near Gate 7, her fingers wrapped so tightly around the handle of an oversized black suitcase that her knuckles had turned bone white. She was 34 years old, a nurse at Mercy Hospital in Springfield, Illinois, with kind eyes that now darted nervously around the terminal like a cornered animal searching for escape routes. A thin sheen of sweat glistened on her forehead despite the terminal's aggressive air conditioning. Every few seconds, she glanced down at the suitcase beside her, then quickly looked away, as if the act of looking might somehow reveal what she was hiding. Across from Sarah sat Margaret and Robert Henderson, a retired couple in their early 70s who'd been married for 48 years. Margaret worked on a crossword puzzle while Robert dozed with a newspaper folded across his lap, both blissfully unaware that their quiet afternoon was about to be shattered. 3 seats down, David Chun, a 39-year-old investment banker from Chicago, scrolled mindlessly through his phone, responding to emails he didn't care about regarding meetings he didn't want to attend. None of them paid any attention to each other. In the anonymous bustle of the station, they were just strangers sharing space, each trapped in their own bubble of routine and distraction. None of them could have predicted that within the next 10 minutes, their lives would intersect in a way that would challenge everything they thought they knew about courage, morality, and the lengths one person will go to protect the innocent. The first sign that something was wrong came at exactly 3:07. Jennifer Torres entered the waiting area, her military-issued duffel bag slung over one shoulder. At 31, she carried herself with the disciplined posture of someone who'd served 2 tours in Afghanistan before returning home to Kansas City to rebuild a life that PTSD had tried to destroy. But Jennifer wasn't alone. Beside her, connected by a royal blue service dog vest and leash, walked Max, a 3-year-old golden retriever with intelligent amber eyes and a coat the color of summer wheat. Max wasn't just a pet. He was Jennifer's lifeline. Trained by Patriot Paws service dogs in Texas, Max had spent 18 months learning to detect the subtle chemical changes that preceded Jennifer's panic attacks, to provide deep pressure therapy during episodes, and to create physical barriers between Jennifer and crowds when the world became too overwhelming. In 2 years together, Max had never once failed her. He'd never barked inappropriately, never pulled on his leash, never shown anything but perfect, calm obedience. Until that moment. The instant Max crossed the threshold into the waiting area, something changed. His ears perked up sharply, rotating like satellite dishes seeking a signal. His nostrils flared, his entire body going rigid with an intensity Jennifer had never witnessed. His training had taught him to detect dozens of scents, anxiety, low blood sugar, even oncoming seizures. But whatever he smelled now triggered something deeper, something primal. "Easy boy," Jennifer murmured, sensing his tension. But Max's focus had already locked onto something across the room. His gaze fixed on Sarah Mitchell's black suitcase with laser precision. Then, without warning, Max did something completely out of character. He lunged forward with such force that the leash burned through Jennifer's palm as it yanked free from her grip. "Max. Heel." Jennifer shouted, her voice sharp with authority and rising panic. Heads turned. Conversations stopped. But Max didn't hear her, or if he did, whatever commanded him now was stronger than 2 years of impeccable training. He bolted across the waiting area, weaving between startled travelers, and made a direct line for Sarah's suitcase. When he reached it, Max immediately began pawing at the black fabric with both front legs, his claws scraping frantically against the hard-shell surface. A low, anxious whine built in his throat, a sound Jennifer had never heard him make. Sarah's reaction was immediate and visceral. The color drained from her face, so quickly she looked like she might faint. "No, no, please," she stammered, standing abruptly and trying to pull the suitcase away. "Get your dog away from me." Jennifer rushed over, mortified. "I'm so sorry," she said, grabbing for Max's leash. "He's never done anything like this before. Max, come." But Max wouldn't budge. His training, his obedience, everything that defined him as a service dog had been overridden by something more urgent. He scratched harder at the suitcase, his whining growing more desperate, more insistent. His whole body trembled with an agitation that sent chills down Jennifer's spine. Margaret Henderson looked up from her crossword puzzle, frowning. David Chen pocketed his phone, standing slowly. Other passengers began to notice, forming a loose circle around the unfolding scene. "Ma'am, I really apologize," Jennifer said, finally getting a grip on Max's leash and pulling hard. "He's a service dog, he's trained, I don't understand what's." That's when they all heard it. A sound coming from inside the suitcase. Soft at first, barely audible beneath the terminal's ambient noise. But unmistakable. A whimper. Muffled. Desperate. Alive. David Chen's eyes widened. Is there something in your luggage?" Sarah's hands began to shake violently. Tears welled in her eyes. "I can explain," she whispered, but her voice cracked on the last word. Robert Henderson woke with a start. "Margaret, what's going on?" Max's scratching intensified. The sound from inside the suitcase grew louder. And suddenly, everyone in that waiting area understood that they were witnessing something far beyond a simple disruption. Margaret stood, her voice firm. "Young lady, you need to open that suitcase right now." I can't," Sarah breathed, tears now streaming down her cheeks. "If anyone finds out what I've done, if they see what's inside." Jennifer's military training kicked in. She pulled out her phone. "I'm calling station security." "No." Sarah's scream echoed through the terminal. "Please, you don't understand. They'll take them. They'll—" But it was too late. Security guard Marcus Williams, a 42-year-old former Chicago police officer, was already striding toward them, his hand instinctively near his radio, his expression all business. "What's the problem here?" Marcus asked, his voice calm but authoritative. Everyone started talking at once. Max continued his frantic scratching. And from inside that black suitcase, the sounds grew louder, more desperate, sounds that made it clear that whatever Sarah Mitchell was hiding wasn't just a secret. It was alive. It was suffering. And in mere seconds, the truth was about to come out. Marcus Williams had seen a lot in his 20 years of law enforcement, 15 with the Chicago PD and 5 as head of security at Union Station. He dealt with pickpockets, drunk passengers, domestic disputes, and even a bomb threat back in 2019. But the scene unfolding before him now carried a different kind of tension. The crowd had grown to nearly 30 people, forming a tight semicircle around a trembling woman, a frantic service dog, and a suitcase that was making sounds no luggage should ever make. "Ma'am, I need you to calm down and tell me what's in that suitcase," Marcus said, his tone measured but firm. He'd learned long ago that escalation only made situations worse. His dark eyes studied Sarah Mitchell carefully, the way her whole body shook, the tears streaming down her face, the protective way she positioned herself between him and the luggage. This wasn't the behavior of someone trying to smuggle contraband. This was the behavior of someone terrified and desperate. Sarah opened her mouth to speak, but only a choked sob came out. Her legs seemed ready to give out beneath her. Jennifer Torres, still gripping Max's leash with both hands as the golden retriever continued his relentless pawing, felt her heart breaking. She'd seen that look before, in the eyes of fellow soldiers who'd been pushed past their breaking point, forced to make impossible choices in impossible situations. Whatever was in that suitcase, this woman genuinely believed she was doing the right thing. "Please," Sarah finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Please, just let me explain before you open it. Just give me that." Marcus exchanged glances with Jennifer, then nodded slowly. "All right. I'm listening." Sarah wiped her eyes with trembling hands, taking a shuddering breath. The weight of every eye in that terminal pressed down on her, But she had no choice now. The truth was coming out whether she was ready or not. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm a registered nurse at Mercy Hospital in Springfield. I've worked there for 11 years. I've never broken the law in my life. Never even had a speeding ticket. Her voice cracked. But 2 days ago, I did something that could cost me everything. The crowd leaned in, hanging on every word. Max's whining had softened slightly, but his paws remained planted firmly against the suitcase, as if he was standing guard. What did you do? Marcus asked quietly. I saved them, Sarah said, fresh tears spilling over. Or at least, I tried to. Margaret Henderson's hand found her husband's. David Chun had completely forgotten about his emails. Every person in that waiting area had become invested in this woman's story, in the mystery of what lay hidden in that black suitcase. Sarah continued, her words tumbling out faster now, as if a dam had finally broken. Dr. Richard Carver is the head physician at Mercy Hospital. He's brilliant, respected, been there for 23 years. His daughter, Emily, was 26 years old. She was a veterinary student at the University of Illinois. She had her whole life ahead of her. Sarah's voice dropped to barely audible. 3 weeks ago, Emily was driving home from class on Interstate 55. It was raining. A semi-truck jackknifed. She died instantly. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Margaret's free hand went to her mouth. Dr. Carver fell apart, Sarah went on. We all watched him crumble. He took a week off work, but when he came back, he was empty. Like someone had hollowed him out and left just a shell walking around. She paused, struggling with the next part. Emily had a beagle. A sweet, gentle dog she'd rescued from a shelter 2 years ago. The dog was pregnant when Emily died, and she gave birth the day after the funeral. 4 puppies. Tiny, perfect, innocent puppies. Max's ears perked up at the word. His tail gave a single wag. Dr. Carver couldn't handle it, Sarah said, her voice breaking completely now. He looked at that mother dog and those puppies, and all he saw was his daughter. All he felt was the pain. So he made a decision. She looked directly at Marcus. He was going to have them all euthanized. The mother and all 4 babies. Not because they were sick or suffering. Just because he couldn't bear to look at them anymore. Jesus, David Chun muttered. I tried to talk him out of it, Sarah pressed on desperately. I begged him. So did other staff members. But Dr. Carver has connections everywhere. He called every animal shelter within 50 miles and told them not to accept the dogs. He called rescue organizations. He made sure there was nowhere for them to go. He wanted them gone, and he has the power to make that happen. Marcus's jaw tightened. So you took them? My sister Rebecca runs a dog rescue in St. Louis, Sarah explained. She said she'd take them, find them proper homes. But I couldn't get a pet carrier in time, everything was closed, and Dr. Carver was going to take them to be put down yesterday morning. So Tuesday night, I went to his house. He keeps a spare key under a planter by the back door. I'd been there for staff parties. I let myself in. I took the mother dog and her puppies. She looked down at the suitcase, her expression anguished. I know how it looks. I know it's wrong. But was I supposed to just let 5 innocent lives be destroyed because one man was drowning in grief? You committed breaking and entering, Marcus said, though his tone had softened considerably. You stole property. I saved lives. Sarah shot back, anger flashing through her tears. If your child died, would you want someone to stand by and let you make a decision you'd regret for the rest of your life? Dr. Carver loved those dogs when Emily was alive. He's not thinking clearly. Once he heals, even a little, he'll realize what he almost did. I couldn't let him live with that. Jennifer felt tears burning in her own eyes. She looked down at Max, her faithful companion who'd saved her from her own darkness more times than she could count. What would she have done in Sarah's position? Robert Henderson spoke up for the first time, his elderly voice firm. The woman's right. Sometimes the law and what's right aren't the same thing. That's not how this works, Marcus replied, though he didn't sound convinced of his own words. He pulled out his radio. I need to call this in. Animal control, possibly the Springfield PD. Wait, Jennifer interrupted. pointing at Max. The golden retriever had stopped scratching. Instead, he now sat perfectly still beside the suitcase, his body pressed against it protectively. His tail wagged slowly. And from inside the luggage, the sounds had changed. No longer panicked whimpers. Softer now. Almost calm. They trust him, Jennifer whispered. Whatever's in there, they know Max is trying to help. We need to open it, Margaret said. Those poor things need air water. They need help. Sarah nodded slowly, defeated. Okay. But please, when you see them, remember they're innocent. Whatever happens to me, promise me you'll make sure they get somewhere safe. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. You have my word. Sarah knelt beside the suitcase, her hands shaking so violently she could barely grip the zipper. The crowd held its collective breath. Jennifer tightened her hold on Max's leash. Margaret gripped Robert's hand. David Chun raised his phone, then thought better of it and lowered it again. The zipper moved. Inch by agonizing inch. 6 inches. 12. 18. And then Sarah opened it fully. What they saw inside made several people gasp, made Margaret burst into tears, and made even Marcus Williams, a man who prided himself on professional detachment, feel his throat tighten with emotion. But just as everyone stepped forward to get a closer look, just as Jennifer started to kneel beside the suitcase, just as Sarah began to carefully reach inside, a commotion erupted at the terminal's main entrance. Raised voices. Rapid footsteps. Someone shouting orders. Jennifer's head snapped up. Marcus turned, his hand automatically moving to his radio. And then everyone saw him. A tall man in an expensive charcoal suit, his silver hair disheveled, his face twisted with rage, strode through the terminal entrance flanked by 2 uniformed Springfield police officers. His eyes scanned the crowd frantically until they locked onto Sarah Mitchell. That's her. Doctor. Richard Carver roared, pointing directly at Sarah with a shaking finger. That's the woman who broke into my home. She's a thief. Arrest her now. Sarah's face went ashen. The mother dog in the suitcase let out a frightened whine. The puppies began crying again. And in that moment, every person in that terminal realized that this story was far from over. The Springfield police officers moved through the crowd with practiced efficiency, their hands resting on their duty belts, their expressions neutral but alert. Officer Jason Bryant, a 14-year veteran with sharp features and calculating eyes, took the lead. His partner, Officer Linda Vasquez, a stocky woman in her 30s with kind eyes that had seen too much, flanked Dr. Carver as he pushed his way toward Sarah. The crowd instinctively parted, creating a corridor between the doctor and the nurse. The bustling terminal had gone eerily quiet. Even the usual announcements seemed to have stopped, as if the entire station was holding its breath. David Chun stepped back but didn't leave. Margaret Henderson clutched her husband tighter. Jennifer Torres positioned herself protectively near Sarah, though she wasn't entirely sure why. Max remained seated beside the open suitcase, his body tense, his eyes tracking every movement. Doctor. Richard Carver looked nothing like the respected physician Sarah had described. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his tie loosened and askew. Dark circles hung beneath bloodshot eyes. His hands trembled, not with age, but with barely contained fury and something else. Something that looked a lot like anguish. Sarah Mitchell, Officer Bryant said, his voice carrying authority that silenced the remaining whispers. Is that your name? Sarah couldn't speak. She nodded, tears streaming down her face, her body frozen between the open suitcase and the approaching officers. This man has filed a report claiming you unlawfully entered his residence and stole property belonging to him. Is that true? Marcus Williams stepped forward, showing his security credentials. Officer, I'm head of security here. I've been handling the situation. The woman has admitted to taking animals from Dr. Carver's home, but there are extenuating circumstances. I don't care about circumstances. Dr. Carver shouted, his voice cracking. She broke into my house. She stole from me. She's a criminal. His finger jabbed toward Sarah accusingly. I trusted her. We worked together for 11 years, and she betrayed me. Sarah finally found her voice, though it came out small and broken. Dr. Carver, please. I was trying to help. I was trying to save you from. Save me. Dr. Carver's laugh was bitter and sharp. You had no right. No right to make that decision. Those dogs were all I had left of Emily, and you took them. The contradiction in his words hung in the air. He'd wanted them dead, but they were all he had left. The crowd noticed. Margaret whispered something to Robert. Jennifer's trained eye recognized the signs of someone spiraling, someone whose grief had become a living thing that was consuming him from the inside out. Officer Vasquez moved closer to the suitcase, her expression softening as she looked inside. Sir, these are the animals in question? For the first time since entering the terminal, Dr. Carver looked down. Really looked. At the oversized black suitcase. At what was inside. For tiny puppies, their eyes barely open, squirmed against their mother. The beagle, thin, exhausted but alert, stared up at the man who'd once fed her, walked her, let her sleep on Emily's bed every night. Her tail gave a single, tentative wag. Recognition. Dr. Carver's face contorted. He looked away quickly, his jaw clenched so tight it looked painful. Yes, he managed. Those are mine. I want them returned immediately, and I want this woman arrested for theft and breaking and entering. Officer Bryant pulled out handcuffs. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to stand up and turn around. No. Jennifer surprised herself with her own vehemence. This isn't right. You can't arrest someone for protecting innocent animals. Actually, we can, Officer Bryant replied, not unkindly. Legally, pets are property. She admitted to taking them without permission. That's theft. But he was going to kill them. Sarah cried, standing on shaking legs. All of them. 4-week-old puppies who never hurt anyone. Their only crime was reminding a grieving man of what he lost. That was my decision to make. Dr. Carver roared. Not yours. Max suddenly stood, placing himself between Sarah and the officers. It wasn't aggressive, he didn't growl or bare teeth, but it was deliberate. Protective. Jennifer had never seen him do anything like it. Marcus Williams held up his hands. Everyone, let's just take a breath here. Officer Bryant, Officer Vasquez, with all respect, there's more to this situation than standard property theft. This is a mental health issue, animal welfare issue. It's a legal issue, Officer Bryant interrupted. And the law is clear. David Chun spoke up from the crowd. I'm an attorney. He wasn't, but nobody questioned him. In Illinois, there are provisions for emergency intervention in cases of animal cruelty. If these animals were in immediate danger, they were in my home. Dr. Carver shouted. They were fed. They had water. They were safe. Until you decided to euthanize them for no medical reason, Margaret Henderson said, stepping forward with surprising boldness for a woman her age. Young man, I've been alive for 72 years, and I've learned that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Robert nodded. The woman was following a higher law. Conscience. Compassion. Other voices joined in. A college student. A young mother with a toddler. A businessman in a 3-piece suit. The crowd was choosing sides, and surprisingly, most were choosing Sarah's. Officer Vasquez knelt beside the suitcase, carefully examining the dogs. The mother beagle licked her hand. One of the puppies, a tiny thing with brown and white patches, let out a small yip. Dr. Carver, Officer Vasquez said quietly, these animals are severely dehydrated and underweight. The mother dog especially. When's the last time they were properly fed? Dr. Carver's face flushed. I don't. Emily always handled the feeding. I haven't been home much. So they've been neglected, Officer Vasquez pressed, her tone hardening. For how long? That's not relevant, Dr. Carver snapped, but his conviction was wavering. It's absolutely relevant, Marcus said. Because if these animals were being neglected, then Sarah Mitchell didn't commit theft. She performed a rescue. Officer Bryant shook his head. That's not how the law works. She should have called animal control, gone through proper channels. There wasn't time. Sarah pleaded. He was taking them to be euthanized the next morning. What proper channel works in 12 hours? Dr. Carver's phone suddenly rang, shrill in the tense silence. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and his face went even paler. He answered it. What? When? How did they? His hand went to his forehead. Are you certain? Yes. Yes, I understand. He lowered the phone slowly, looking as if he might collapse. Everyone waited. The terminal seemed to lean in. That was the hospital administrator, Dr. Carver said, his voice hollow. Someone leaked this story to the media. It's already on the news. Local stations. Social media. He looked at Sarah with an expression that was hard to read. They're calling you a hero. And they're calling me a monster. The crowd murmured. Jennifer pulled out her phone and quickly searched. Her eyes widened. He's right. It's everywhere. Hashtag #SaveEmilysDog is trending on Twitter. There are already thousands of comments. Officer Bryant's radio crackled. A dispatcher's voice. All units be advised. We're getting multiple calls about an incident at Union Station involving a doctor and puppies. Media is requesting statement. Advise status. Officer Vasquez and Officer Bryant exchanged looks. This was no longer a simple theft case. This was a public relations nightmare in the making. Dr. Carver swayed on his feet. For a moment, the rage drained from his face, leaving only exhaustion and grief so profound it was painful to witness. My career is over, he whispered. Everything I've built. 23 years. Gone. And then Max did something extraordinary. The golden retriever walked slowly to Dr. Carver and sat directly in front of him, looking up with those intelligent amber eyes. It was a behavior Jennifer recognized, Max's trained response to someone in severe emotional distress. Dr. Carver looked down at the dog, then at the suitcase, then at Sarah, then at the crowd of strangers who'd become witnesses to his worst moment. His knees buckled. He sank down to the floor, his expensive suit crumpling, his hands covering his face. And he began to sob. Not quiet tears. Deep, wrenching sobs that came from a place of absolute devastation. The kind of crying that only comes when a person has finally, completely broken. The mother beagle, hearing a sound she recognized, climbed slowly out of the suitcase. She was weak, unsteady on her feet. But she walked directly to Dr. Carver, just as she'd done hundreds of times when Emily was alive. And she laid her head on his knee. Everyone in that terminal froze. Watching. Waiting. To see if a broken man could find his way back from the edge. Or if this story would end in tragedy after all. The sound of Dr. Richard Carver's sobbing echoed through the terminal like something primal and raw. It was the kind of grief that made strangers look away, uncomfortable witnessing something so intimate, so completely vulnerable. But nobody left. The crowd of 30 had grown to nearly 50, and every single person stood transfixed, watching a man come apart at the seams in the middle of Chicago's Union Station. The beagle, her name was Daisy, though nobody there knew it yet, kept her head rested on Dr. Carver's knee. She was weak, malnourished, exhausted from trying to keep 4 puppies alive with no help. But some instinct, some deep loyalty that transcends human cruelty and neglect, drove her to comfort the man who'd abandoned her. Max remained seated in front of Dr. Carver, calm and steady. Jennifer Torres felt tears streaming down her own face. She understood this moment in a way many couldn't. She'd been here herself, on her knees broken, convinced that the pain would never end. And it had been Max, with his patient presence and unconditional acceptance, who'd shown her that healing was possible. Officer Linda Vasquez slowly holstered her handcuffs. She looked at her partner, Officer Jason Bryant, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. Whatever they'd come here to do, arresting a sobbing man in front of 50 witnesses and rolling cameras, because yes, several people were now recording, wasn't it? Sarah Mitchell stood frozen, her hands clasped in front of her mouth, unsure whether to approach or stay back. Marcus Williams placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, steadying her. For nearly a full minute, no one spoke. The only sounds were Dr. Carver's anguished crying and the soft whimpering of puppies from the suitcase. Finally, Dr. Carver's sobs began to quiet. His breathing slowed. His trembling hands lowered from his face, moving tentatively to touch Daisy's head. The moment his fingers made contact with her fur, she looked up at him, and her tail wagged. Slow. Forgiving. I'm sorry, Dr. Carver whispered to the dog, his voice shattered. Daisy, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Margaret Henderson wiped her eyes with a tissue her husband handed her. David Chun found himself blinking back unexpected emotion. Even Officer Bryant, who prided himself on professional detachment, felt something crack in his chest. Dr. Carver looked up at Sarah, his face blotchy and wet. "She made me promise," he said, his voice barely audible. "The night before the accident. Emily made me promise that if anything ever happened to her, I'd take care of Daisy and the puppies. She was so excited about them. She'd already named them all." His face crumpled again. "And I was going to kill them. I was going to break the last promise I ever made to my daughter." Sarah moved forward, kneeling beside him. "Dr. Carver, you weren't thinking clearly. Grief does that. It makes us—" "No," he interrupted, shaking his head firmly. "No, don't make excuses for me. What I tried to do was monstrous. You saw that. You risked everything to stop me." He looked at her directly. "You broke the law to save me from becoming someone I could never live with. Someone Emily would have been ashamed of." Officer Vasquez knelt beside the suitcase, carefully examining the puppies. "Dr. Carver, these animals need immediate veterinary attention. Especially the mother. She's severely dehydrated and underweight." "There's an emergency vet clinic 3 blocks from here," Jennifer offered. "On West Adams Street. They're open 24 hours. Dr. Carver nodded, carefully gathering Daisy into his arms. She was so light, so fragile. When had she gotten this thin? He'd been so consumed by his own pain that he'd completely neglected the living beings that depended on him. The realization made him feel physically sick. "I'll take them," he said. "Right now. Whatever they need." "Sir," Officer Bryant interjected, "we still have the matter of the theft report you filed. And Ms. Mitchell's admission of unlawful entry into your home." The crowd tensed. Sarah's brief moment of relief evaporated. Dr. Carver stood slowly, still cradling Daisy. "I'm withdrawing the complaint. All of it. Sarah didn't steal anything. She rescued animals that I was neglecting. She did what I should have done, what Emily would have wanted me to do." Sarah's knees nearly gave out with relief. Jennifer caught her arm, steadying her. "Are you certain about this, sir?" Officer Bryant pressed. "Once we close the report, it's difficult to reopen." "I'm certain," Dr. Carver said firmly. "The only person who committed a crime here is me. Neglect. Attempted animal cruelty. If anyone should be arrested, it's me." Officer Vasquez shook her head. "We're not here to arrest anyone. We're here to make sure these animals are safe and that this situation is resolved." She looked at Sarah. "You showed incredibly poor judgment entering someone's home without permission. But your intentions were to prevent harm. I think we can all agree this situation is complicated." Marcus Williams stepped forward. "With the complaint withdrawn, there's no reason to detain anyone. I suggest Dr. Carver get these animals to a vet immediately, and we let these good people catch their trains." The crowd began to disperse slowly, many stopping to pat Sarah's shoulder or offer words of encouragement. Margaret Henderson hugged her. David Chun shook her hand and pressed his business card into it. "If you face any legal trouble from this, call me. I meant what I said about being an attorney." Sarah smiled through tears. "Thank you. All of you." Dr. Carver carefully placed Daisy back in the suitcase with her puppies, making sure she was comfortable. Then he turned to Sarah. "Come with me. To the vet. Please. You've been caring for them, they trust you. And I need help. I don't know how to do this alone anymore." Sarah hesitated, then nodded. "Okay. Yes. Of course." Jennifer began to turn away, ready to finally board her train, when her phone buzzed. Then buzzed again. And again. Notifications flooding in. She glanced at the screen and her eyes went wide. "Oh no," she whispered. "What?" Marcus asked. Jennifer turned her phone around. The screen showed a news article, published 17 minutes ago by the Chicago Tribune. The headline read, "Springfield doctor attempts to euthanize dead daughter's puppies. Nurse risks career to save them." Below it, another from WGN, viral video shows dramatic confrontation at Union Station. And another from a national outlet, service dog exposes hidden puppies in suitcase, the story behind the rescue. Dr. Carver's phone began ringing. Then Sarah's. Then it seemed like everyone's phone in the terminal started buzzing at once. Officer Bryant's radio crackled urgently. Unit 7, be advised. We have media trucks en route to Union Station. ETA 3 minutes. Requesting crowd control backup. Marcus cursed under his breath. We need to move everyone out of here. Now. But it was already too late. Through the terminal's glass doors, they could see them arriving. News vans. Cameras. Reporters sprinting toward the entrance. Dr. Carver looked at Sarah, panic replacing the fragile peace he'd found moments before. If they get our statements, if this becomes a media circus, it'll destroy both our careers. The hospital will have no choice but to fire us both. Sarah's face went pale. My sister. The rescue. If my name is dragged through the media as someone who breaks into homes, they'll investigate her facility. She could lose her license. Everything she's built. Jennifer grabbed Max's leash. There's a service exit. Through the maintenance corridor. I used it during my last visit. Follow me. The first reporter burst through the main entrance, camera operator in tow. There. That's him. Dr. Carver. Marcus made a split-second decision. Go. All of you. Now. Dr. Carver grabbed the suitcase. Sarah took his arm. Jennifer led the way with Max. Officer Vasquez, in an unexpected move, positioned herself to block the reporter's view. Sir, you need to stay back. Active security situation. They ran. Through the crowd, past startled travelers, toward a door marked Authorized Personnel Only. Jennifer yanked it open, and they plunged into a dimly lit corridor that smelled of concrete and machine oil. Behind them, they could hear shouting. More reporters arriving. Questions being shouted. The chaos growing. They'd escaped the immediate confrontation. But as they raced down that corridor, suitcase full of puppies bouncing with each step, none of them realized that someone in that terminal had recorded everything. Every word. Every moment of Dr. Carver's breakdown. Sarah's confession. The entire emotional confrontation. And in approximately 90 seconds, that video would be uploaded to social media, where it would be viewed 8 million times in the first hour alone, and change all of their lives in ways none of them could possibly prepare for. The maintenance corridor stretched ahead of them like a concrete tunnel, fluorescent lights flickering overhead, the distant rumble of trains vibrating through the walls. Dr. Richard Carver clutched the suitcase to his chest, careful not to jostle the precious cargo inside. Sarah Mitchell ran beside him, her heart pounding. Jennifer Torres led the way with Max, the golden retriever's nails clicking against the floor as they navigated the labyrinth of service hallways. Behind them, the sounds of chaos faded. The reporters. The cameras. The spectacle that their private moment of grief and redemption had become. They burst through an emergency exit into a loading area behind the station. The late afternoon sun hit their faces, shocking after the dim corridor. A taxi sat idling near the curb, its driver scrolling through his phone. That one, Jennifer pointed. Go. I'll make sure no one follows. Dr. Carver hesitated. I don't even know your name. Jennifer Torres. And this is Max. She smiled. He has good instincts about people. Trust them. Sarah grabbed Jennifer's hand. Thank you. For everything. They climbed into the taxi. Dr. Carver gave the address of the emergency vet clinic on West Adams Street. As the car pulled away, Sarah looked back to see Jennifer and Max standing guard, making sure they escaped cleanly. The ride took 7 minutes. Neither Dr. Carver nor Sarah spoke. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was the quiet of two people who'd been through something profound together, who didn't need words to understand what had just happened. Inside the suitcase, Daisy shifted, checking on her puppies. A small whimper. The soft sounds of new life, fragile and depending entirely on the humans who'd almost failed them. Dr. Carver's hands trembled as he looked down. Emily named them, he said quietly. The puppies. She had names picked out before they were even born. His voice cracked. Scout, Harper, Atticus, and Boo. From To Kill a Mockingbird. It was her favorite book. Sarah felt tears well up again. Those are beautiful names. She was a beautiful person, Dr. Carver whispered. And I almost destroyed the last pieces of her I had left. The taxi pulled up to Lakeview Emergency Animal Hospital. Dr. Carver paid the driver with shaking hands, overtipping by $40. Inside, the clinic smelled of antiseptic and pet shampoo. A young veterinarian named Dr. Amy Chun took one look at Daisy and the puppies and immediately ushered them into an examination room. For the next 90 minutes, Dr. Carver and Sarah watched as the veterinary team worked. For fluids for Daisy. Careful examinations of each puppy. Weight checks. Temperature readings. The medical precision was something Dr. Carver understood, and focusing on the clinical details kept him grounded. "She's going to be okay," Dr. Chun finally announced. "They all are. But it was close. Another day or two without proper food and water, and we'd be having a very different conversation." Dr. Carver closed his eyes, overwhelmed. Another day. He'd been planning to have them euthanized that very morning. If Sarah hadn't acted when she did, if she hadn't risked everything. "I'd like to keep them overnight for observation," Dr. Chun continued. "Make sure everyone stays hydrated and stable. You can pick them up tomorrow afternoon." Dr. Carver nodded. "Whatever they need. Money isn't an issue. I just want them healthy." As they left the clinic, Sarah's phone rang. It was her sister Rebecca from St. Louis. "Sarah, what the hell is happening? You're all over the internet. There's a video with 12 million views. 12 million. Are you okay? Are you arrested? Tell me you're not arrested." Sarah put the phone on speaker so Dr. Carver could hear. "I'm not arrested. The charges were dropped. The dogs are safe. Everything's going to be okay." "The rescue's phone has been ringing non-stop," Rebecca said, her voice a mix of stress and wonder. "People want to donate. Thousands of dollars. Somebody set up a GoFundMe without even asking us. It's already at $47,000. Sarah, what did you do?" Sarah looked at Dr. Carver. "I just did what was right." They found a quiet coffee shop 2 blocks away and finally looked at their phones. The video was everywhere. Hashtags trending worldwide. Hashtag Emily's Legacy. Hashtag Nurse Hero. Hashtag Second Chances. The comments were overwhelming. Thousands of people sharing their own stories of grief, of the pets that saved them, of the moment they chose compassion over pain. But there were also calls for Dr. Carver's medical license to be revoked. Demands that he be fired. Angry messages calling him a monster who didn't deserve redemption. Dr. Carver read them with a stone face. "They're not wrong." "Yes, they are," Sarah said firmly. "You made a terrible decision in the worst moment of your life. But you stopped. You listened. You changed. That's not monstrous. That's human." His phone rang. The hospital administrator. Dr. Carver answered, his voice steady. "Yes, I know about the video. Yes, I understand the position this puts the hospital in. I'll submit my resignation tomorrow morning." Sarah grabbed his arm, shaking her head frantically, but he gently moved her hand away. He listened for a long moment. His expression shifted. Surprise. Confusion. Then something that almost looked like hope. "Say that again," he asked. Another pause. "The board voted?" "Unanimously." Another pause. "Mandatory counseling and supervision, yes, of course." "Thank you." Thank you." He lowered the phone slowly. "They're not firing me." The board held an emergency meeting. They saw the whole video, including the part where I broke down and took responsibility. "They're requiring me to undergo grief counseling and work under supervision for 6 months, but I keep my position." Sarah burst into tears. "Oh, thank God." "There's more," Dr. Carver said, his voice thick with emotion. "They want to establish a program. The Emily Carver Memorial Fund. For hospital staff going through traumatic loss. Counseling. Support groups. Everything I should have had but was too proud to ask for." He looked at Sarah. "They want you to help run it." That evening, as the sun set over Chicago, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, Dr. Richard Carver stood outside the animal hospital, looking at his phone. At his daughter's last Instagram post, from the day before she died. A photo of Daisy pregnant and glowing with the caption, "Can't wait to meet these babies. Life is so beautiful, you guys." Never take a single moment for granted. He hadn't been able to look at that photo for 3 weeks. But now, he saved it. Made it his phone's wallpaper. Because Sarah Mitchell, a nurse who barely knew him, had cared enough to break the law. To risk everything. To save him from a choice that would have haunted him forever. And Max, a service dog with instincts that went beyond training, had known that inside that suitcase wasn't just animals that needed saving. It was a second chance. For all of them. 3 months later, the Emily Carver Memorial Fund had helped 42 hospital staff members access grief counseling. Sarah Mitchell had been promoted to nursing supervisor. And Dr. Carver, with Daisy and 4 growing puppies at home, had learned that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means honoring what you've lost by protecting what remains. Because sometimes, saving innocent lives means saving your own soul. If this story touched your heart, you're part of something bigger than just one video. You're part of a community that believes in second chances, in the courage to do what's right even when it's hard, in the healing power of compassion. Tomorrow, we'll share another true story that will remind you why humanity is worth believing in. And trust me, it's even more powerful than today's. Hit that like button if this story moved you. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss these moments that restore your faith in people. And here's what I really want to know. Drop a comment and tell me, what part hit you the hardest? Was it Sarah's courage? Dr. Carver's breaking point? Or Max knowing exactly what needed to happen? I read every single comment, and your stories inspire the ones I tell. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that even in our darkest moments, redemption is possible. See you tomorrow with another incredible true story.